second ASEAN Media Forum. And as Chichi mentioned, the theme is developing regional media collaborations for ASEAN community building. This is the second forum that AMIC is organizing. The first one was in February in Bangkok. And this is my first ASEAN Media Forum. And I'm glad that my good friend Bushra Sadasivan, who's also a nominated member of Parliament in Singapore, has agreed to be the keynote speaker. And I also want to thank Mr. Rolf Bash from FES for being here. Basically, the goal of this session, of this workshop, is to explore ways in which we can contribute to the ASEAN goal of building one community by 2015. And personally, I think we need to address issues of how to create awareness, how to change attitudes, and how to put in place access systems for this goal to be possible. But guiding this whole initiative is this goal of developing infrastructure, developing mechanisms, developing resources that allow ASEAN nations to see each other through ASEAN eyes. And a big component of that is our youth initiative, for which we have workshops also planned. So I look forward to an engaging day today and a day of good workshops tomorrow. Welcome again. Thank you.
Morning, dear guests, colleagues, and friends of the media. As a representative of FAS, who just happens to be in Thailand because our normal representative is just in Burma, I welcome you here to the Second Asian Media Forum, organized by AMIC and supported by FAS. Our history with AMIC goes back a long way. When I actually looked it up, it's 39 years, which is unusual for a partner relationship in this field. So it's 4 decades of cooperation in our fast-living times. And I'm glad that AMIC sent in this proposal and that this is already the second forum taking place. And I'm also glad that you're breaking it down this time.
Comments, and after that we will then proceed to close our opening program to prepare for the first session. Please approach the microphone and tell us your name and your affiliation.
Madan from Bangalore, very nice opening speech. Can you give some more examples, as you mentioned, of private sector cooperation? That discovery example you gave was a very good one. Can you cite any other examples like that?
If I cite more examples, I'll have to charge you. Frankly, no other big example comes to mind at this point in time. But maybe what I'll do is I'll highlight, give a little bit more details on how that deal came about. I think that'd be useful. The first thing we did was, as I said, the head of discovery in the region, we just met casually. And my motivation was I wanted my company to, instead of just producing documentaries for global channels like Discovery and National Geographic, I wanted us to be in the process of a volume game. So my incentive was I wanted my company to grow, right? His interest was they were running out of ideas. You see what I mean? So the first point we need to understand is understand people's needs. Organizations and people always have needs. So identify what the needs are of the other person, the other company, the other organization, the other country, and say how can we work together to be relevant in fulfilling that need. So we got together and then we got negotiating. Then I told them, look, I'm not going to put in any money, but I will be involved in sourcing for the content because that's my strength. And we will do the versioning, but you put in the money. Then they said, why should I put in the money when you're going to benefit? So I said, well, because you're going to benefit more, because you're going to have a lot more content to carry on your channel. Right? Because they get the exclusive first window, which means all these content will automatically, must be carried on Discovery first, before it's distributed to any other international channel. Which means that it's called the first window. They get it first. So I said, you've got to pay a premium for that. Then we realized that the amount that they are prepared to put in was not enough for this to really take off. Because we needed to at least have 10 documentaries in the first year. Second year, 15, third year, 20, and so on. Right? And there's quite a bit of cost involved. Then we went together to the Media Development Authority in Singapore and got Media Development Authority to put in a significant amount of money. So they are now a shareholder of this program. So this is a classic example of public sector, private sector, and a small player. Now, why is it not possible for AMIC, for example, just to be that small player? Right? It is possible for AMIC to take the role that my company played. You don't have money. You're not expected of money. You're a not-for-profit organization or non-profit organization. Right? But you have access, right? You have access. So why don't you use that access as collateral? And you go in there and say, with us, we have this network of people we can bring on board, which is talent. We can widen the network, you work with us. See, what I'm trying to highlight is, first you have an idea. Then you need to work through that idea based on what I would call a needs analysis. If your needs analysis is not exacting, it will not take off. Okay. So, these are the kinds of things that we need to start thinking of. First, we need to ask ourselves, what are our strengths? What are their needs? And find the gap.
Thank you. Next question, please. You will not have another chance. We might not have Mr. Sadasivan for the succeeding sessions.
That was a very enlightening speech. Thank you very much. My name is Howie Severino. I'm editor-in-chief of GMAnews.tv in the Philippines. You made a very important point by saying that documentary producers or television producers must start integrating new media in their planning and start shooting, for example, with mobile in mind. Are there specific companies that are already doing this? Are you talking about models for the future, or is there already a best practice that we can cite?
Good question. Thank you for this question, Howie. But it is actually happening, I know, in Singapore, with a few companies that are in this space. But right up to about 3 years ago, there was a clear and definite divide between mainstream companies and new media companies. Right? When you say new media companies, you're really talking about web-driven content companies. And mainstream would be documentaries and so on, or TV programs, right? Today, you have a handful of companies that have actually managed to straddle both. Now, these companies work on the long tail concept I talk about. When they produce content, they already chart revenue streams from multiple platforms. So their first window is the documentary or a drama. A lot more happens in the area of entertainment, right? So when they produce, and MediaCorp in Singapore have actually gone into this area. When they produce drama today, they already plan the shots based on mobile. A lot of the MediaCorp drama in Singapore, especially Chinese content, is pumped through the mobile operators to the mobile phones in capsules of 2 to 5 minutes. So in episodal planning of the series, they already start factoring how to actually trim it. An episode is usually half an hour, correct? One half-an-hour episode, when they do the planning, when they do the shooting, they make sure that there are enough shots on close-up that will fit the bill for the mobile while they're shooting it in studio. Get it? So this is already happening, and they're getting a lot of extra revenue through the mobile phones by striking deals with Singtel and some of the mobile operators at the start of the project, so that they become stakeholders and they're involved, and they start pumping out trailers as well. So trailers for the documentaries not only go on TV but also go on mobile. So the TV program viewership goes up because you have trailers produced by them going on a completely new platform. This is already happening in Singapore. It is scaling up pretty fast. There are still rough edges, but to answer your question, there are a handful of companies that have already gone into private sector companies, and the mobile operators are going into content development as well. Like Singtel, StarHub are going into content development on their own. Right? So there's quite a bit of work already in these areas. I hope I've answered your question.
We have time for one more question.
You have a follow-up question? Sorry, I saw
Sorry,
you.
another follow-up, please.
So I didn't mean to take up the last question. Maybe somebody else can take the last question. But I'm very fascinated with what you just said. Just a follow-up question very quickly. So are you saying that mobile now is viewing videos for free and getting content for free? And we're looking at mobile as maybe, and of course production is not free. And we're looking at mobile now as a potential revenue earner. Is this what's happening in Singapore now? Is this already a viable business model?
It is. I wouldn't say it's a viable business model yet, but it's becoming more viable. It's a volume game. Let me put it this way. You know, there are a lot of mobile applications, right? Now, if you want your application to go on Nokia, for example, which is the largest phone or device manufacturer in the world.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to suggest some idea to my students. You have any suggestion for the student or young generation who are working at uncomfortable atmosphere? I mean that sometimes like their idea was blocked or banned or censorship. You have any idea to inspire them to challenge to go on?